Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Ammar, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to have Raoul Didisheim, the founder and the principal consultant of Didisheim Consulting, a boutique advisory firm helping entrepreneurs, executives, and family offices scale their businesses with tailored, experience-driven support. With over 25 years of C-level leadership and a boardroom experience across 4 continents, Raoul brings a global lens to strategic consulting. Raoul, welcome to Founders Future.
Happy to be here.
Happy
Thanks.
to have you. I'm excited to dive in. I always like to start from the inception of the company. So take us back to before you started your consulting firm. What were you doing beforehand, and what was the motivation behind starting the company?
I'd spent, I guess, the second third of my career at agencies. So I worked at a number of agencies, first at Razorfish, and then a couple of MediaWorks and Web and Stagwell, which acquired the last company we were at, which was Dotbox. And after doing that, I was tired of being in the agency world, but I still like serving clients. So I decided, since I didn't want to be in an agency, I still wanted to serve clients, I would start my own consultancy. And so I could take the agency experience I had and bring it to a mid-sized market. Because of
Mm,
course we were working with larger corporations when I was at the agencies, but I thought I could benefit from my experience at these agencies
yep,
to the mid-market client who is trying to grow.
I love that. Was it difficult to start your own company in the sense of just mentally? I find that people come across challenges stepping from corporate to entrepreneurship. So I'm curious if you had that yourself and how you navigated it.
In a way, not so much, because there were some. I started my career as a television producer. So I was a television producer and I was used, I guess my business forte started in production where you're going from show to show, you're going from project to project. You're an independent contractor, really. So I had grown up doing that. And I was at ABC News Productions when I just got really interested in tech and left and went to a .com then. So I'd been freelance or had independent little companies before. So it wasn't completely new to me. It took adjustment to get not having a staff, that
Yeah.
I guess that was something I had to do everything myself that I was having people do. So that was probably the hardest shift. But being consultancy wasn't a complete leap.
Yeah, it sounds like you already had a taste of what it was going to be like in a sense that made the transition easier. So let's fast forward and give the listeners a little bit more context for your company today. Who is your ICP? Who do you love to work with? And then what are the different offers and services that you provide?
I work, as I said, mid-market, but there's no real. I did start in the luxury space because my former agency, we worked with Vern Verdura and Harry Winston and Tourneau and brands like that. And so that was who initially I thought I'd be working, focusing on those smaller brands in that area, which I did at first. And I do have some jewelry clients, but what happened is really what happens during the pandemic, suddenly everyone needed an online presence that didn't have one. A lot of
Mm,
companies, a lot of business thought a website, you have one because you got to have one, but suddenly like everyone was going online. They weren't going to the store. They were doing all their research online. So I started getting a lot of referrals from all sorts of businesses and started working with them. I have clients that are in recycled metals. I have clients that are in public education, some medical, some fashion, perfumes, watches. So it's really now about company size more than more than the niche.
Yeah. It
Uh,
sounds like you've worked with companies from various different industries. So like medical to perfumes, fashion, very different. So is there like a minimum company size and do you judge it based off of revenue, head count? What does that look like?
it's more about revenue. It's usually it should be doing 5 to 50 million, but it's not really headcount. It's more about the revenue. Essentially, a company that is big enough to pay for services, but not big enough to hire a major agency,
Yep.
or that they don't have their own internal marketing. I am working with an MA company that has their own team, but they don't have like senior people in there. So we're coming in there in more of a consulting, high level consulting. So they might do the tasks. We'll see how it goes, but we might do some implementation, but they might do some implementation. Each case is different. I don't do cookie cutter kind of work. I like to know the client, do a deep dive into their business, their competitors, and then we come up with a solution.
Awesome. Help me understand a little bit further the different offers and services. Let's say I'm listening to this and my company is doing between 5 to 50 million. What does it actually look like with us working together and what are the pain points that you're going to help me solve?
The first step is usually we do a dive into their business, a discovery or a competitive analysis, site audit, and through that we discover a lot of things that they didn't know about their company, how they're doing. During their pain points, it's usually a lot of the companies I work with are fairly older companies that haven't got up to the digital transformation that they need, especially now. Things are really picked up a lot, obviously. And so it's usually companies that are losing market share because they're not keeping up. It's also companies that are looking to be sold, acquired, and have an exit plan. Private equity might be interested in them, but they also need to
Yeah.
have a look and a brand and a message. So it's a lot of that comes around in terms of like core services. It's going to be a website. It's going to be either fixing or creating a new website, SEO, paid media, content development, style, branding, style book, all that. We do video if they need that. We do press releases, pretty much the full gambit of online digital presence.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of it comes down to the marketing, the messaging, and just increasing their visibility. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, and revenue, through that
Yeah,
business.
yeah. Acquiring more customers, bringing in more leads through the door,
You know,
making
impressions don't equal sales.
yeah, 100%. It's nobody flexes impressions. I got this many impressions. Who cares? Yeah.
So it's
I can need to.
and usually they think their trouble is this, but then we find out it's that they might be spending a lot of money on targeting the wrong audience and they don't realize it. So that's part of the discovery process. So the outcome of the discovery will really set the roadmap for what we think they should do. And
Got it.
there's usually an initial project and then ongoing services such as SEO or paid media or updates to the site, depending on the business, of course.
Yeah. When you enter into initial engagement, is there a specific time period that's allocated? We work together for 6 months, or what does that look like?
Usually it's usually ongoing. There's an initial work that has to be done, and there's always at a minimum some kind of maintenance, but usually it includes ongoing SEO because that's always changing, especially a lot now with PBMs and everything. And they might want a certain amount of content per month. So there's that sort of kind of retainer. But then they might be doing one-off events. They might be doing a show. They might be doing a sale, an event week, if it's
Yep.
fashion week or if it's tech week, whatever it might be. So they'll need special projects for that. So yeah, usually my I and yeah, it's ongoing.
Yeah,
It's
fair
really
enough.
it's a one-off.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially with things like SEO, things like content. It's not one and done. It's something that you're continuously working on. When it comes to the client acquisition, the customer acquisition, when you are looking to onboard more clients into your consulting firm, what does your lead gen look like?
I have a business development person, but I actually do a lot myself just by I use LinkedIn a lot for just contacting and staying in touch with people. We have a newsletter, we have a blog. And the thing is, I've been around a while, so I already know a lot of people. A lot of it comes from referrals, people I
Yeah,
know anyway. That's not a new kid on the block.
for sure. What have you found to be the most effective?
It's usually relationships for me, really. Not necessarily people I know, but people who refer me. I really think the other stuff keeps you top of mind. I get some direct work from, say, I post something on LinkedIn and it resonates with them, or they read a newsletter. But those tend to be smaller contracts. Like the bigger ones are usually someone who's going to recommend me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Referrals are definitely the best leads by far. Most highest intent.
Yeah.
Typically, the no trust factor is higher, all that good stuff. One thing we talk about a lot on this podcast is the importance of having a predictable lead generation pipeline that we install in our business. And a lot of that, like referrals and word of mouth and networking, are the best leads, generally speaking, but it's not as predictable as something that you can turn on and off at will. So I'm curious, when you think about building predictability when it comes to lead gen, what's your perspective on that?
I I have a CRM. I do email blasts to people, but I don't do it. I do it around something in particular. Say I went to, I don't know, I went to an event. So I went to some event and I have a list of everyone that was at the event. Then I'll customize and I'll do a outreach to them through the CRM and then do the follow-up, three follow-ups or so. But I'm not like always just like doing it to like all my LinkedIn connections or all my, it's usually so surrounding there's an instant, something happens, I go somewhere, I meet a group, and then I'll target that group. I do sometimes I do it around a little bit a certain industry. If I just did some work with a particular type of a client in a certain industry, then I'll search other businesses and say, hey, we just did this for one of a similar business to yours. This might interest you, kind of thing. And so that might be lost out to people.
Got it. Do you find that brings a consistent flow of leads in through the door?
It does. I don't know if it's a consistent. I mean, it gets something, but I mean, in terms of consistency, it is the referrals, I gotta say.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, referrals, yeah, can't beat those. What does your sales process look like? So once a lead does come in through the door, what are the steps they go through for them to become a client?
Yeah, it's really about not. It's definitely pitching them right away. It's usually someone comes in. It's usually the first contact is usually informal. The main thing is listening to them,
Yeah,
not talking about yourself. Just, I guess, getting the doctor approach. What's going on with you? What's your, oh, and then things come up in the conversation. Oh, how did that work out for you? What are you doing about it? And things like what happens to you if that fails. There's certain things to get them interested, get them worried a little bit that if they don't do something about it, it's going to be a problem, which it will. And then Then a soft, if you want to talk about this more, I'm happy to get on discussion. Then there's usually might be a second call where we get a little deeper. And then I gather as much information as I can before telling them what I'm going to do for them. Because through that in a general conversational way, and then I take that information and then I lay out, okay, these are the pain points, these are to myself. And then I usually bring someone, then we have the next call would be the call like, are you going to work with us or not? So then we have a call, and I usually will bring in part of my team, depending on the client. I'll bring in different people. If it's a tech problem, I'll bring in tech. If it's a branding problem, I'll bring the branding or marketing. And then we'll have enough knowledge to give them a proposal. But one thing I won't do anymore is not, if they don't give me some kind of budget or some kind of budget range, I
You
won't,
don't pay.
I won't do the whole proposal without, because it's
Yeah.
after many years of doing that. I can't tell you how many times, especially when I was at the agencies, we'd spend weeks on a proposal, make it beautiful, do all this stuff. In the earlier days, we'd mail them a huge, beautiful packet, and they say, "Oh, this is great, but that's too much. It's out of our budget. Thanks."
Yeah. Waste of time. I get what you mean. Yeah, yeah. If they're not serious enough to give you at least some sort of number, then what's the point of dragging it on?
The client, I understand the client's point of view. They don't want to be like throw out a number and it's like way more than they should be spending, and so they don't know either. So
Yeah.
you've got to be like, give me a range. If I told you 1 million, would that be too much? And they, oh yeah, that would be too much. All right, what about? And then you can get an idea.
Yeah.
And also my own research, you can generally, I guess, company size, you can find, depending, you can find out their revenue. You can find out things and make a calculation from that.
Yeah. When you think about your vision and where you want to take the company, let's say over the next 12 months, are there any specific revenue targets, performance targets, priorities?
I am not looking to be bigger. I've done that, and I'm not looking to make this an agency. I'm making this, I want to keep I guess my targets are better. I don't want a lot more clients, but I'd like to have better quality clients. That's really what I'm usually looking for.
Got it. So you want to stay the same, but increase the quality of clients.
So I don't need more clients. I would say I'd like to have better long-term clients.
Mm,
A few more than a few, but not like, I'm not always looking for more and more. I'm just looking for higher level.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What do you feel like is the biggest challenge to making that happen?
Yeah, that's finding them. It's
Yeah,
because a lot of the leads I get are not qualified leads for me in the end.
yeah,
I talk to them, and then usually after 30 minutes, I know that if they're not, I know in 30 minutes, and I'll say, look, we're not really a good fit. And then I know people that would be a good fit, and I'm happy to help them. I mean, sometimes I'm happy to spend an hour on the phone with someone, just helping them out, just to give them direction.
yeah,
But I don't want to get into, because those kind of clients are often more difficult than a bigger client. Because a bigger clients, or they're organized, they have something, they know something. You're not teaching them about there's explaining, but there's not a huge learning curve. They get it, and we can get to the work.
yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. Let's go into a quick closing lightning round. So I'll rattle off some questions at you. Don't think too much, just the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
What's one tool or resource that's been a game changer for you in your company?
Tool of research, AI comes for me now, and I don't know if there's one in particular. It depends for what I'm doing, but I just like doing contracts, doing proposals, scopes of work. Just that's saving me time, like amazing amount of time. Research, all
Yeah,
that. It's been, yeah, been a game changer in the last year for sure.
100%. So you use different ones for different purposes?
Yeah, I'm always playing. I probably spend too much time playing with them, but I'm like right now, one's coming out every week. Something's coming out. There's ones that Claude is good for content. ChatGPT is good for short kind of factual stuff or putting out a document. I use AI Studio or Gemini to load up. If I'm doing research on something, I'll load all that, like anything, all the documents I can find, and then it's going to pull from that because you can load up a lot of stuff there. Even AI Studio I've used, like the other day I was on this spreadsheet, and I can't remember I couldn't figure out how to do something. And it could just tell you, you just have a conversation with it, and it's just showing you, oh no, you got to press here, you got to do that, got to do this. I also did a competitive analysis a little while ago with doing the chart, and it would have taken me weeks to do that in the past. Not weeks, a week, say, and this a day and a half, I could do it just from all the tools, AI tools, and research.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's so much time condensed that now your output can be 10x.
Yeah, so I'm spending more time creatively thinking about stuff than just doing the task,
Yeah,
which is where it's going.
for sure. If you could go back in time and give yourself a piece of advice when you were first starting the company, something you wish you knew at the time, but you didn't, but now you know, what would that be?
Well, I'll go back to the beginning of my whole career because it's one thing that I have not been a good like networker
Mm,
because I tend not to, honestly, I'm shy and I'm not good at doing that schmooze that you do as you go up, work at different companies and all that. I've never been great at that. And that affects the relationships you have. I would have told myself when you're in the room with X, go up to the guy, talk to him, get him to let you stay in touch with him, all that I didn't do. And also when you're in the work, continue to network and stay in touch with people. Because I've been like the last job I did, the last agency I was with before I started that company was like a really intense, it was a startup. We ramped up to be required, and my job was to like make us acquirable. So I would hired a bunch of people, found some investors, but all that time I was just at work working with the people I was. And then when I started the consultancy, I hadn't been in touch with people for a long time.
yeah,
So to that original ramp up took longer
yeah,
because I had to get back in touch with people. Fortunately, I did know people because I've been around a while, but I mean, if I'd been consistently reaching out, that would have been easier.
yeah. Fair enough. That's a good thing to share, especially when people are starting out, is building those relationships, but also keeping in contact with them. It's
Absolutely.
easier said than done, but it's very important nonetheless. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Probably through LinkedIn, open email or DM me. My website's didisheim.com. And that's pretty much on the other platforms, but I don't, yeah, I'm more on LinkedIn than anywhere else.
Yeah, makes a
And
lot
they
of
can,
sense.
yeah, they can
Yeah,
get in touch with you right there.
there you go. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Hey, it's a pleasure.
My pleasure as well. So that wraps up another insightful episode of Founders Future. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you're looking to scale your business and really enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to discover how we can support your growth journey. Until then, keep on climbing.